Hey PokeDad fan club, it's me PokeDad, and today I'm doing another deck profile for you. Right now we're kind of in the middle of a series where we're doing uh, preparation for 2016 Spring Regionals. So I'm bringing you another expanded deck. I know I do a lot of them on PTCGO, but I also felt like I needed to bring, do a couple of these on live with the cards. And so today I'm going to look at Night March in expanded format. And I actually will probably look at another variant down the road before we hit regionals. But this is just one that I've kind of come up with, actually with the help of my son. Goes by Link Geek online, and it's kind of taking the idea from standard and then just adding some of the components. The other variant that we'll look at probably down the road, though, will be a Night March variant with Archeops in it. But this one does not have Archeops. This is more of just a aggro version where we're just going to try to blow through as much of our deck as we possibly can on turn one and then go from there. Alright, so we're going to start off obviously with our Night Marchers, and I'll kind of brush through these pretty quickly. We got 4 Joltics, 4 Pumpkaboos, and then 4 Lampents. Alright, and maybe if you're new, you don't know what Night March does. Joltik has an attack for two double colorless energy, for 1 double colorless, I should say. It does 20 times the number of Night Marchers in the discard pile. So the idea is we're going to try to get, these are the 12 Night Marchers that we have in the deck. We're going to try to get them into the discard pile through Battle Compressors and Ultra Balls, and then that just pumps up the attack. And we only need like 1 or 2 of these on the bench, so we can put the other 10 in there, and that gives us 10 times 20 gives us an attack of 200. And then we can even pump that up a little bit more with Fighting Fury Belt that we play in here. One thing that we should note, though, is Pumpkaboo's attack. Joltik only has 30 HP, so they're very fragile. Pumpkaboo only has 60 HP, but his attack actually requires 1 additional colorless, so he requires 3 colorless. But we play Dimension Valley in here, so Pumpkaboo's attack with the Dimension Valley would also be a double colorless. So we do play mostly double colorless in this deck, though we do play a couple other energies. Unlike standard, where they pretty much just play 4 double colorless, in expanded we play a little bit more energy, and the reason is because we can afford to put more Night Marchers in the discard pile, and we have another attacker that we'll show in just a minute that only needs 1 energy if played right. Alright, so we'll put those to the side. Those are the 12 Night Marchers. That's our main attack. We're just trying to put as many Night Marchers in the discard pile as possible. Alright, we play 1 Jirachi promo. This is mainly to help us with a couple matchups, specifically Seismitoad Giratina, and also Vileplume Vespiquen, or even other Vespiquen variants use a lot of DC. They might just give us 1 turn to kind of breathe a little bit. With Seismitoad Giratina, they're probably going to play lasers, so we typically aren't going to actually use Jirachi in the active. For those of you who need to know what he does, he has, for 1 colorless energy, does Stardust. It only does 10 damage, but then it knocks a double colorless or any special energy off your opponent's active Pokemon, and then Jirachi becomes invincible from attacks. Now, they can escape rope Lysander and then take it out, or they can just wait a turn and not put any more special energy on, and then the effect goes off. But in expanded, the big thing we have to worry about is hammers. Not hammers, lasers. Lasers and Verbank. And with a laser that could put Jirachi to sleep, we really need to not put him up in the active if we can help it. So here's where the other attackers come in, and that is we play 2 Mew EXs. For those of you that don't know, Mew EX has the ability Versatile, which means he can copy any attack that is from any Pokemon that's on the field, as long as he has the necessary energy to do that. Now notice he is also a Psychic type, so when we put him with Joltik and Jirachi, he can copy their attacks, or he can copy Pumpkaboo's attack also. But he can copy Joltik's attack of Night March for just 1 energy if there's a Dimension Valley in play. Because he's a Psychic type, he gets the boost from the Dimension Valley, meaning that Night March normally costs double colorless, but for Mew with a Dimension Valley it would only cost a single colorless energy. So that's why we play some of the special normal energies in here, so that Mew can just copy the attack and still do Night March for just a single energy. With Jirachi, it's a colorless, so with the Dimension Valley, Mew can actually Stardust for no energy at all. And it also is going to save our Mews, because they have 120 HP as the Jirachi only, as opposed to the Jirachi only having 60. Mew's going to last a little bit longer. Now he is an EX, so if he gets knocked out, you lose 2 prizes. Your opponent gets 2 prizes. But a laser is not going to kill him in just 2 turns. A turn, my opponent going and then me going. So if he falls asleep, he also has an ability. He could also copy Shaman, which we do play some Shamans that I'll get to in a minute, and he can Sky Return, getting rid of the poison and getting rid of all the damage and going back into your hand. So Mew is a very good attacker in this deck, and ideally we want to try to get like 10 Night Marchers, maybe a Joltik, a Pumpkaboo, and Jirachi on the bench, and then just use Mew to kind of copy their attacks. Alright, I'll kind of leave that to the side. Alright, then moving right along, we do play one Jirachi EX. Jirachi EX has the ability Stellar Guidance. We don't want to start with this guy, but we can put him from our hand to the bench, and then we can grab any supporter. Play a very light load of supporters in this deck, so to be able to get the exact one we need can be very useful. And since we're also playing Puzzle of Time in this deck, it makes sense that we use an N. And we may not want to necessarily always Sycamore, even though Sycamore can get more Night Marchers in the discard pile. N can save our Puzzles of Time, especially if we don't want to use them right away. So we play one Jirachi EX to help us with the Stellar Guidance and grab whatever supporter we may need at the time. And then finally we play 3 Shaman EXs. Some people only play 2 in the expanded version, but I felt that consistency was better, and we may prize one. Now it does increase our chances of starting one, but we're already looking, we've got 1, 2, 8, 10, 12, 13 potential starters that are better than Shaman or Jirachi EX. And that means that we're only going to start Shaman about 3 out of every 17 matches. So on average. So that means we shouldn't see him very much in the starting position. But set up to be able to draw your hand back up to 6 is just really, really good. So that is our Pokemon lineup for this deck. I'm going to get into supporters. Like I said, we play a very light level of supporters in this deck. Let me get this off real quick. Alright, we play just 6 supporters, and we just play a single copy of each of them. Alright, again, we're going to try to go through this deck as quick as possible. So we're going to try to, do this all on turn 1 if possible. So we play 1 Sycamore, discard your hand and draw 7. Now I know most people are thinking you're only playing 1 Sycamore. Well, I had 2 in there at one time, but then I realized I want to play the 1 N. N's going to allow us to shuffle our cards back into our deck, and then both you and your opponent do this and then draw the number of cards equal to the prizes you have left. So N is very good at the beginning, where we can still draw 6 cards and not have to worry about discarding our puzzles of time. And then also late game in, if we do get behind, we can in our opponent down to just a couple cards and give us a chance to come back from behind and win. Play one Teammates. Teammates is very good because it does help us grab our puzzles much more quickly, which will then allow us to get DCE back or Pokemon back or whatever we need back, battle compressors, those kind of things. So we play one Teammates here. Play one Lysander. Lysander is actually really good because if our opponent benches a lot of Shamans, we can just Lysander them up and use Joltik to knock them out pretty easily. We also play one Xerosic. We combine this with the Stardust Jirachi, and we can take Giratina down from 4 energies down to no energies just with a Stardust and a Xerosic. So Giratina could be problematic for us, even though we are playing some regular energy. Not being able to use our special energy can be problematic. So we need to have a way to deal with Giratina in this set. And then we play one Hex Maniac, Greninja, Trevenant, Vileplume. Those are all things that we have to be concerned with, and so Hex Maniac helps us with that. So those are our 6 supporters for this set, for this deck. Alright, we're going to play 4 Battle Compressors. That's pretty obvious. That's standard in Night March. You got to have 4 Battle Compressors so that you can be putting Night Marchers in the discard pile, but we also can use it to put supporters in the discard pile and then VS Seeker for them later. 4 Ultra Balls. This will help us grab our Shaman EXs or whatever we need, and also discard Night Marchers at the same time. Play 4 Trainer's Mails for consistency. Trainer's Mail will help us get into Ultra Balls or Battle Compressors, and again, when we can do that, we're getting to being able to thin our deck more and more. Playing 4 VS Seekers. VS Seekers help us get the supporters that we have back, so we can Battle Compress a supporter in and then potentially get them out with the VS Seeker. And then we're also playing 4 Puzzles of Time. Now, I know this works well in Standard. I'm not sure how well it's going to work in Expanded. But again, this is going to be the deck that my son is piloting in Juniors. So, and it seems like it's still going to work well. Though we're not as reliant on it because we have more energy in the deck. But it can still be useful to help get Life Dew back, which we'll talk about in a minute. And it also can help us get Dimension Valley back. It can help us get a Night Marcher back. Sometimes when they see that we're playing Muse, they'll just try to target our Night Marchers and just knock them out. And then we have to find a way to get the Night Marchers back on the bench so Mew can copy that attack. Alright, we also play 3 Dimension Valleys. Because of the Puzzle of Time, I feel like we don't need 4 of those. So we just play that. And then we have some one-of techs that I think are just really strong in Night March. The first one is Town Map. I think most Night March decks agree that Town Map is almost a must, though I know some people don't play it. But I think it is pretty much a must because you need to be able to see, especially if you have a lot of Night Marchers prized, you need to be able to see where they're at so you can free them up, so you can boost your attack for later turns. Play 1 Tool Scrapper. I chose to do this over Startling Megaphone because sometimes our Muse can get head ringered, and so we'd like to be able to remove the head ringer from our Mew, and at the same time we can remove Fighting Fury Belts from our opponent and whatnot. Then we play 1 Tech, a Target Whistle. Again, this can be used to end the game off. If we've already knocked out a Shaman EX, we can Target Whistle it back on and then Lysander it up for another easy 2 prizes, and a lot of times that can be the last 2 of the game. So 1 Target Whistle in here, and again, if we have to throw this away early, we can always use it the puzzle of times to get it back. So it's still quite good. All right, we have play 3 tool cards in here. We talked about Life Dew a little bit. That is our A-spec of choice since we're playing an expanded. Now, I know there is, for consistency purposes, there is definitely a case to be made for computer search in this deck. But my son likes Life Dew a lot. And so I'm not, if he wants to play Life Dew, I'm going to let him play Life Dew. And it really, because we have the puzzle of times, it's actually not a bad strategy to play Life Dew, simply because we can put Life Dew on multiple Night Marchers, and if they knock them out, they won't take any prize, because that's what Life Dew does, is when your opponent knocks one of your Pokemon out, they don't take a prize. And on a Mew, if it's on a Mew, instead of taking 2 prizes, they would just take 1. So you can actually make them have to take 7, 8 prizes instead of just the normal 6. And if anytime you can do that, that advantage can be really strong, especially in a deck that's going to be taking prizes very quickly anyway. So we play the Life Dew, and we also play 1 Fighting Fury Belt. This just really makes Night March strong. It's going to bump Mew's HP up to 160, which is still not a whole lot, but it's better than nothing. It's also going to increase the attack by 10, and since a lot of EXs are at that 170 mark, having that Fighting Fury Belt, that extra 10 can be just enough, especially like when we're playing against Yveltal. That extra 10, we don't need the extra 20 from a Muscle Band. We can just get the extra 10 from the Fighting Fury Belt and finish the game off easy that way. And then one last thing is we play a Float Stone. And also, if we have to, for some reason, discard this, or this ends up one of our Night Marchers getting knocked out with the Float Stone on it, it's not a bad card to retrieve also with the Puzzles of Time. So Float Stone is kind of useful because we can put it on like a Joltik that may have started off in the active, but then later on we get our Mew, and so we can put the Float Stone on the Joltik, retreat into the Mew, and then let Mew start attacking. Then if the Mew has to Sky Return or does end up getting knocked out, we can just promote the Joltik again, and we can put up another Mew or another Night Marcher. And then basically the last Night Marcher can be the one that has the Float Stone on it. And by then you've got so many Night Marchers in the discard pile anyway that one is probably going to take a knockout on just about anything. So that is our tools and our items and our supporter lineup. And finally we'll get into energy. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Alright, so for our energy, we're playing 4 double colorless, which I mentioned to you before. That's just what helps us with the matchup, because Night March uses double colorless for the most part. But we do play 2 dark energy. And you're probably thinking, well, why dark? Why not psychic? Why not lightning? There's even a case to be made for rainbow energy. But in this case, I think the matchup that we really are probably going to see the most of is going to be something like a Yveltal deck. In Expanded, you're going to see a lot of Yveltal. And so I feel like if they've got an Yveltal EX on their bench, and for some reason we don't have a Night Marcher or whatever, we can attach just 1 energy to Mew, and we can actually use Evil Ball with just 1 energy in a Dimension Valley. So we can copy the Yveltal's attack, and if he's loaded up with a lot of energy, we might be able to just knock him out with his own attack, which is kind of cool. Also, there are other attacks, Darkrai. I don't know if the old Darkrai, I don't know if we'd be able to copy that attack, but the new Darkrai, we certainly would be able to. And then Zoroark, we could actually copy that attack with just 1 energy also, so we could Mind Jack our opponent. If you see that, you don't really see a lot of Zoroark in Expanded because of Keldeo, but I would like to see Zoroark just because it's such a powerful card. But anyway, guys, so that is our Night March deck. It's the deck profile that we're looking at. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. We'll be glad to answer any that you may have. Also, if you wouldn't mind, hit that thumbs up button for us. Help us get 20 likes on this video. We'd really appreciate that. And then finally, if you're new to our channel, please hit the subscribe button. We really value each and every one of our subscribers. And this is PokeDad signing off. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.